Your co-founder split up. Co-founders left. It's been painful. The emotional stuff is sorted. You're now left with what to do with the shares. Should the shares get cancelled? Should the shares get transferred to other shareholders? Should the shares go back to you, the remaining co-founder? So this, unfortunately, is a reasonably common problem. So let's go through in the next few minutes what is best to do for your use case. So the first thing is that, let's say, two co-founders and one of them disappears. The question to ask first is who goes up and who goes down in this scenario with the different shareholders. And broadly, there are two possibilities. One, everyone, all the existing shareholders go up and get more equity in the company as a result of this person having less equity. Or number two, you as the remaining co-founder or the remaining co-founders go up and essentially take their shares. So once you've figured out what you want to do, who goes up and who goes down, then you know the next steps. And this is really important. When you start a company, your philosophy might be the founders together have this amount of equity. And if one of them goes, actually, we're going to get back their shares, so we stay collectively with this amount of equity. But the investors might have a different view. They might say, well, the co-founders had this amount of equity. One of them has disappeared, so you now need to have less equity. Why? Because at some point you might find a new replacement co-founder, or you might increase the share option pool. So it's not fair that you get back their shares and then we get diluted when you find a new person. So the choice of who goes up and who goes down is basically going to change with the stage of the company. If it's just two co-founders and no other shareholders, then of course, kind of by simple maths, if one goes away, everyone else goes up. If you've got an early funding round, you might be able to persuade your investors that you go up and they go down, well, they stay the same, you go up with your co-founder shares. But once you get to Series A and beyond, if a co-founder leaves, it's pretty clear that their shares are going to get cancelled and everyone goes up. Investors are unlikely to go. You can benefit by taking their shares. So now that you've figured out who goes up and who stays the same and who goes down, what is the best mechanism for doing this? Noting that if there's somebody who's got some shares and they transfer shares, those shares go to value and there may be significant tax liabilities. So let's see what to do, what not to do, and what maybe not to do. So the first thing is that you can turn them into deferred shares. So if you've decided that the departing co-founder's shares are to essentially get cancelled, so everybody goes up in equity, turning them into deferred shares is very useful. And if you've done a seed round on SeedLegals, we will have built in the provision for deferred shares. If you're still on your model articles, you probably need to create new articles beforehand, but turning them into deferred shares means they sit on your cap table, but as shares that have got no value and no voting rights and don't really count for anything. So it's a very easy way of essentially cancelling shares. The second possibility, if everyone goes up essentially, is the departing co-founder transfers their shares to all of the other shareholders. This is possible, but probably not a good idea. It's not a good idea for two reasons. One, all the shareholders will now be getting essentially shares for free because they're probably not paying for them. They transferred a nominal value, and therefore they're getting something that's got value for free, and therefore they all have a tax liability, which they don't want. The other problem with it is if your shareholders have invested SEIS or EIS and they get these free shares, that's fine, but they'll now have none SEIS, EIS shares, which means they can't be an EIS investor in your company in the future. So you may lose them as an investor in the future by giving them free shares. So that's not so good. So the short answer is if everyone goes up, take their shares and turn them into deferred shares. And if only the co-founders are to go up, then you want to do a founder share transfer to the co-founders, and you may need to turn them into growth shares in the process so that there isn't a tax liability. And the last thing you can do is when you turn them into deferred shares, you might want to increase the size of the share option pool, or your investors might insist that you increase the size of the share option pool, so that if you find another late joining co-founder or senior employees and you give them share options, those can come from that option pool without diluting everyone further. I hope that helps on what to do when there's a co-founder fallout.